And welcome in to another Monday Night live stream. I see the chat is already very busy. So that is awesome. I truly do appreciate that. Um, so let's just start by seeing who's all here. The first one in the chat is Keith, and the early bird does get the worm. My wife makes that joke all the time. Um, David is here. Tony is here. Toro is here on time. Thank you, Toro. Joe, of course, is here as usual. Uh, yes, as David says, hit the smash button or smash the like button. Sorry about that. Eric is here. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Tony is here. Oh, Eric, your TiVo just died. I'm surprised that company still exists. uh, if you're looking for a tuner, there's a guy on YouTube who does antenna recommendations. He just previewed some OTA DVR boxes like not too long ago. Check him out. Brian Coates is in the house. Let's see here. Oh yeah, check out the Tableau. Heard good things about that one as well. Yes, David, the background is a server that does need updated. In fact, that is the first talking point that I have. I hate how Ubuntu now does not give you free security updates unless you sign up for their Ubuntu Pro Pass thing. That is not okay in my book. If you're open source software, you should be open source. You shouldn't hide stuff. If there's something I'm missing, please let me know down in the chat. But as of right now, I'm thinking about going to straight up Debian, which is what Tom Lawrence uses. And I feel like maybe that's a better option because I don't want to go without security updates. And as you'll see in a minute, I already have like more than 5 or 6 virtual machines. So the Pro license, which I think is five machines, I would already max out. So yes, that machine does need upgraded. I believe that's my next cloud installation, and it is definitely due for an upgrade. Practical IT with Jeremy is here. I just watched your stream. For those who didn't catch it, Jeremy is doing the uh, month-long create content every day challenge. I was literally watching one stream from Sunday, and then he started a new stream, so I jumped over there. I probably can't keep up. He's creating too much content, but that's never a bad thing for YouTube since they like that. My channel has not really grown a whole lot because I do live content. I don't have time for VOD stuff, so I guess my channel growth is suffering a little bit because of that. But I do appreciate you all being here because you all help the algorithm, grow. Whoa, I am way, way, way behind in chat. Um, so hi. I might have to adopt the Aaron Parecki, like put a tagline in for me because I can't. I'm having a hard time keeping up real quick. Howdy, how will do. So, Silicon Dust Home Run. I actually have the ATSC3 HD Home Run. It does work really well. It gets really good reception. I could tell you that ATSC3 was spotty before on the same station now with ATSC3. Sorry, ATSC1 reception was spotty on the same exact station with the same exact antenna setup. ATSC3 works 85% of the time, where before it was like 90, or sorry, it works like 85% of the time. Before it was like 50, you know? So ATSC3 definitely is a cool if you can get it in your area. So I would definitely look up Silicon Dust. They make great products if you are willing to build your own DVR, or apparently they have a DVR option now. Look into that. Well, thanks, Keith. I hope to keep this somewhat basic, but then we're going to get pretty in the weeds here on this channel. So you might learn something. I do appreciate you being here. I appreciate you all being here. DJ Ware is here. Welcome, DJ. Joe wants to know where Haley is to mock me. She is currently on a training call upstairs. I'm sure she'll be down at some point, but she is currently busy. The tower light was previous live stream, which you should have watched. So, just kidding. Um, wow. Okay, who else is here? Antenna Man. Yes, that was the guy who I was trying to think of with the reviews. He does when he's not on his soapbox. I think he does good stuff. He seems to jump on his soapbox a little bit about broadcasting and stuff, and which I can appreciate, except that it comes off as being on a soapbox. Toro says he loves Debian. So, whenever I try to go to update, um, for example, can I show you this? Yes, I can. Let me switch over to my terminal session. If I make this larger, so what I don't like is this 23 availability on the ESM, and I'm pretty sure you have to sign up to get ESM. Um, yeah, ESM is, free, blah, 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 but I've heard it was like free for 5 machines. So unless I'm not understanding something correctly, um, not exactly a fan of that. So maybe I'm wrong. If I am, please, by all means, let me know in the comments below. Not more, Debian is awesome. Bob Carpenter is in the house. Well, it's just a busy, busy night tonight. Yeah, so I just showed you that, David. Hopefully, um, that explains it's this ESM stuff that I don't like. Oops. Yeah, this is what I was. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the cool version that he has where you can actually, oops, uh, see where it's highlighted. So I guess I could do the tag if I wanted to. Uh, Tony wants to know what the shirt says. So my parents just took a cruise, and it says, "What happens on board stays on board." And this was my free gift for them going on a cruise. But hey, I'll take it. It's a nice shirt. There's a noise gate. I don't think I have a noise gate on. Do I? Oh yeah, I do. There you go. Whatever you want, Joe. This is all about you and your Joe approved units. So, uh, speaking of Joe approved units, oh well, I think every stream I've done goes over an hour, even counting for the 5 minutes of music. So, I think I'm still good. Yeah, the JAU, I believe was what 3 weeks ago on this stream. 3 weeks ago, I think it was. Very good crowd. You know, yep, that's a good command to run. Yeah, I actually was just thinking that Joe must be listening on either a really good stereo system or he has good ears, or both. So, So anyway, I'm finally caught up, I think. Um, so what are we talking about tonight? Well, um, I honestly was gone all weekend, so I really didn't plan anything. So I was just thinking today, what could I talk about? And one of the things I've often thought was cool is how you can store things like in buckets and how that whole thing with Amazon S3 bucket storage works. And I wanted to dig more into that. And I happen to have a device at work that writes to S3 buckets as part of our system. And I was like, well, what does that do? How does that work? What is an S3 bucket? How can you write to it once and have multiple copies and resiliency, but you only made one write? So I figured, well, it's probably RAID. Well, it's not exactly RAID. So I was doing some digging a while back and realized that a company called Minio, which is how I'm going to pronounce it, other people call it Minio, which, okay. Um, but Minio is a system that makes S3 compatible storage, and they claim to be one of the best ones out there. So I think I've touched on this previously in other streams, but we're actually going to set up a whole new server tonight running Minio or Minio and make our first bucket. So I'm actually going to walk through the whole process. I've done this once. It did not go well. So we will see how the rest of the stream goes tonight. Um, oh, that was been a good title, Tommy. I wish I would have thought of that one. I guess I could go back and change it, but that would be cool. Um, so yeah, so I should have probably called it that. Also, is chances are my phone's gonna ring tonight because work's gonna call about an issue we're having. If that is the case, I will have to go silent for however long the phone call takes. Hopefully, it's not very long, but just be wise, be aware that I may have to take a break real quick at some point in the stream. So David says uninstall you. Okay, now we're just gonna do this live, as Eric says. Can you guys see? No, you can't. Oh, come on. OBS, don't do this now. There we go. Let's try that. Is this gonna work? Sudo apt uninstall. No, sorry. Remove Ubuntu. Well, we'll see what happens. This either breaks it or fixes the issue. I'm not sure. So if I do... Oh, see, Jeremy, here's my locate test commands that I was doing earlier. Joe, I learned from Jeremy's stream about a tool called locate. So if I do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade tech yellow is... Did it just reinstall them all? Probably did. Oh, so we then remove them. And let me just exit out of there real quick, restart the session. I still have them, still asking for them. Probably because I probably just uninstalled it and then reinstalled it if I had to guess. David, maybe you have some better insight. So yeah, don't kick the bucket. Great idea for a title. Wish I would have done that. Morning, everybody, from Jason. Welcome in. Time away for work calls does not count towards. You know, I think the JAU needs some sort of explanation, clarification, some kind of system. Yes. So go make a wiki, or somebody who's good with cloud, go make a little website and start explaining the criteria to get a JAU. It's like competitive figure skating. That is awesome. I would definitely agree with that one. So David says previously Ubuntu didn't provide security patches for universe repo packages. They're not producing in-house packages. Oh, okay. Well, oops, my chat doesn't go off the screen. So apparently I just need to look into ESM more. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll figure it out. Maybe not. Either way, I kind of like the idea of going with straight up Debian, just because it's like everything's based off of it. So I feel like going with straight up Debian is probably a better idea anyway. But we'll see. Yeah, so far Eric has the quote of the night. Everyone seems to love it so far. Uh, so, anyway, let's get started. So, I have Chrome logged in to my Zen Orchestra. For those who don't know, I use Zen Orchestra to make virtual machines. It runs on a server downstairs. Yes, I've thought about Docker, but right now this works better for me because I love the snapshot feature and I love the backup. So my system does nightly backups of the whole virtual machine. So it's great. No need to worry about data loss or whatever it is. So we're going to create a new VM. Can you guys see this pretty good? Yeah, you can. So I'm going to create a new VM. I actually have, in this case, I'm going to create a Debian 11, and I'm going to use a template, or sorry, an ISO. And this stuff's not super important. I'm just kind of wanting to show you because I've actually wanted to get this set up from the beginning. So we're going to do a Debian 11 net install. 4 CPUs, I don't know, 4 gigs of RAM. This machine has like 128, so really I could even go like 8. I mean, this thing has way more RAM than it needs, which I love. I'm going to call this virtual machine Minio. It's going to go on my house network. And for the storage repository, I'm going to call it Minio as well. I hate giving virtual machines too small of disk, so I always do like 40 just because it seems like a reasonable space. And so, yes, just so everyone noticed, Joe is giving us the background. For those who don't know what S3 storage is, it is Amazon's storage system, which, you know, it is Amazon Web Services service, so it's the S3. I thought it was Amazon Web Services storage or something. So yeah, so if you want the, so basically Joe's saying the service allows for storage of objects, any objects you can store whatever it is you want. Since it's not actually block storage, but it's, you know, it's got built redundancy, and we're going to get into that, explain that here in a second when I actually make this. So I'm putting the root base drive on an SSD, but like as Joe's talking about, it's designed for data to be replicated. So in this case, since I'm only having one server, I'm actually going to just do virtual machines or virtual disk, and I'm going to put them on I'm going to make basically disk 1, and 100 gigs. And so here's where I'm actually basically telling it to do resiliency. This is all on the same server, but you could duplicate this over different servers. But for illustration purposes, I'm just going to do this all in the same box because I don't have multiple servers to play this around or to do this on. So you can see how I'm just creating 4 disk, and they're just these would be in theory disk on different servers spread across different data centers or whatever it is. If you're doing Amazon, I am not doing that. I'm just doing across multiple disk in my test server. So here you can see I have the OS being installed on an SSD array. It's 40 gigs, and I'm doing 4 disk, if you will, with 100 gigs each, just for testing purposes. And they're on the regular hard drive array. So I have an SSD array and I have a hard drive array in this server. So I'm going to create this machine. While that happens, I'm going to get back to the chat real quick so I don't get caught behind. Like I said, Joe is explaining what S3 is. S3 stands for Simple Storage Service. Yeah, okay, that's what that is. S3. So it's not Satan's storage service? Or expensive? Yeah, I get that one. Yeah, that's outstanding. That's outstanding. That's might be right up there with Eric's line about ice skating. I'm not sure yet. So, can I do a poll in here? Is that an option? I can. Ooh, this will be fun. Hold on here. Line of the night so far. Let's do a poll. Okay. I don't have, what is that? What was that line? Oh, there we go. Okay. So, all right. So let's do this poll. It's the reverse of Hotel California. You can't check out anytime you like. How do I? Okay. All right. So make sure you guys vote in the poll. So far, the expensive storage service is winning. Had a feeling it might, but hey. So, and that's and I guess this is my point about the whole thing. And you guys know my stance on cloud. I like the idea of cloud. I like parts of it. I like the hybrid idea of a cloud. I do not like putting it all in the cloud. I think it's way too expensive to do that, especially if you have to pull data down. And in my scenario, we store large files. Putting that in the cloud and bringing it down is expensive. So if you could run it yourself on your, if you could have it locally and then just put copies up there for backup and you never pull it back down, that sounds like a great option to me. So we've got 8 votes, and so far, Bob's expensive storage service is winning. I don't actually get a vote, so because I don't think I can vote. So yeah, so get your votes in. Anybody else? 8 votes. That's probably all who's here. Let me double check. I have 14 current viewers, it says. So, and 9 likes. So if you could hit that like button and vote in the poll. I'm going to give it another minute or two. Looks like we got 9 votes now. This is actually kind of cool. I like this. Oh, Bob is getting points now, and he's not even a YouTuber. So that's kind of cool. And cloud definitely means fees, either because, and I always love the definition of a cloud. It's someone else's computer. You're paying to use somebody else's computer and internet and power. Therefore, it's going to cost you. It'd be cheaper to do it yourself in most cases if you have the know-how. Well, considering we're a half an hour in and I haven't even started the the demo, and I thought this was going to crash and burn, I'm having a great time. And I swear I didn't drink beforehand, although I really wish I had a drink right now. All right, so I'm just going to end the poll. We got 9 votes. I feel like we're good to go. The winner is definitely Bob's thing, and I can't show the poll. I guess Parecki has more work to do on his plugin, which I've thought about, like you did, Tony, going with H2R just to change it up and have a little bit better stuff. But when it works, it works. I didn't really want to change too much. Can we crypto mine? Well, and yes, you can, Tony, because if you were just to go live and never stop, you in theory would get crypto mine Joes or Jows, however you want to pronounce it, because you would just be keep getting them over and over again. So you could. Well, here's a question, Joe, because you don't have a Wikipedia page yet about this. If Tony just live streamed a picture of his, let's say, front yard, would that count? Just curious. We'll have to trade coin until. Yeah, I haven't even come close to that. I think my current subscriber count is. What is my current subscriber count? Currently at 756 subscribers, and I do not believe I'm even remotely close to the watch hours required. I'm trying to look that up right now. If I go to my Earn tab, and I have 1,923 public watch hours, and I need 4,000. So I'm about halfway there in terms of watch hours, and 3/4 of the way there in subscribers. I really should do more VOD content, but like I said, it's just hard to get there. I haven't said it because it hasn't done it. It doesn't really dump for me. Although I should say it has in the past. It usually does not. So I agree with Tony. I think a stream is a stream. So I think, Tony, you should just set up a camera and have it stream like your front yard or whatever it is, and just let it go. And you can set it for private or unlisted so that only Joe can watch it. I mean, or you could like send it to him via SRT and then just have a 24-hour day, 7-day a week SRT feed to him. Maybe that'll count too. Oh, no, he says no, you can't. You have to have. There's probably a way to make that work though, Tony. I'm sure. Tony's disagreeing. I say I backed you, Tony. I think you were on the right track. Gonna be tough to beat the webcam stream of the Trojan coffee. I don't know the Trojan coffee pot. I don't know that story. Ooh, Jason, you're close. You're getting close to the required number of hours. I'm the GA Federal Reserve. Well, I'm glad you're going to consult Bob, because Bob definitely has a say, because he was part of that. I would have a feeling, yes, that might get me more views. I have nothing. I have no insight into that, but hey, they streamed video for 10 years. Who would know if there was coffee in the pot? Oh, was that like really early on the web? I'm guessing when it was like 20K was a good stream. All right, so I think our virtual machine's probably built by now, since that's what. So let's go back to the virtual machine, and so here's a machine running. It has the four. I'm going to call them regions, if you will, or diversity zones, whatever you want to call them. So let's, you know, go through the install of a Debian machine while we keep hanging out. I don't need a graphical interface, so I'm going to just do. You can't see that. Okay. So just follow all the defaults in this one. It's like watching paint dry, but not entirely. Oh, so the coffee stream was in 1991. Okay. Yeah. 20K probably was a lot for them back then. So, and I will have to say, speaking of Amazon, I did happen to drive by an Amazon data center the other day. Well, I assume that there were several data centers there, with several buildings, right along the highway. It was kind of interesting. There, you drive by and you see a warehouse with like a lot of security, and you're like, well, that's a little weird. Why does a warehouse have so much security and no labels? And then you see the power station out back, and it kind of becomes obvious what it is. All right, so host name for the system, Minio, my internal domain setup, the root password. I'm going to destroy this machine, so I'm going to make it really simple. My name, my username, again, a very simple password since I'm going to destroy this machine afterwards. I'm in the Eastern time zone. I generally like to do setup LVM because then you can grow a lot easier. It's not always the case, but so I want to make sure I grab the storage or SSD array. Yes, all files. I don't care about changing, making things complicated later on. So Joe says that was one availability zone of a region. Time on chat does count. Okay, that's interesting. So how many availability zones are in a region? I don't actually know the answer to that. I'm curious. Because there's what, 4 regions? U.S. East and West, 1 and 2. I think is that right? Or is there more? I can't keep track. I think there was. I want to say the data center I drove by, there was 5 buildings, if I'm not mistaken. And it's right along the highway, so there's not like there's any way like this is not like top secret information. It's literally along the side of the highway. Everyone can see it. Do not scan extra media. US, sure, whatever, don't care. No proxy server. I thought there were 4 regions, 3 availability zones per region. Okay. So in theory, there are 12, if my math is correct, there are 12 data centers, or 12 zone, spots, I should say. I'll just call them spots. Alrighty, so we're almost done with installation. And like I said, I did set this up a while back to where, oops, let me get back on camera. So when I first played around with this, I actually did set up 4 virtual machines with 1 hard drive each. And then I had it set up through a load balancer to where it was actually writing files to all 4 servers in a high availability cluster. So I did the exact same thing that AWS does, but because I don't want to set up 4 virtual machines in a load balancer for tonight's demo, I'm kind of just doing this the other way around, which is 1 server, 4 hard drives instead of 4 servers with 1 hard drive. So hopefully that makes some sense. Looks like we're gonna almost done. And then a key note for if you're new to virtual machines, I'm turning off the desktop environment because I don't want it, but I am turning on the SSH server so I can actually get into it. And then we're gonna hit continue. So while we wait, availability zones are separated on different power, and yeah, I would imagine so. US East 1 has 6. Interesting. If you put a file in there, does it go to all 6, or does it still only go to 3? Just curious. So Jason's Lab, I actually did try Amazon for a year. I did the free trial program or whatever it's called, where you can like get a mini nano server or mini server, I forget what they call it. And I had an OpenVPN tunnel established for a year to the Amazon cloud as just kind of a test. And it was cool. It worked. Currently, I'm trying DigitalOcean. Haven't got a chance to play around with that a whole lot, so hopefully get back to that before my free credits expire. But I'm trying DigitalOcean just to see what it's like. But I think it's kind of cool. And I mean, I will tell you, my Amazon OpenVPN server was crazy fast. So whatever hardware that AWS cloud is built on, that's some good stuff. I'm sure it's proprietary as hell. If it's like Facebook's, their custom servers and all that stuff, they're not off the shelf stuff. So it looks like we're going to install the bootloader now, and yeah, choose the first device. If you want to see a tutorial how to install a Linux OS, I will do that as a separate video if you want to see that, but I think most of you probably know how to do this. Yeah, so Tony says that he ran his controller in AWS but migrated DigitalOcean due to cost. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a little... I mean, it's pretty fair, I think. It's just, I don't want to spend that kind of money every month. Oh, so your objects are stored across multiple zone, at least 3. Cool. And that's a thing, Bob. I definitely would agree with you on that. I have seen the bills that we pay for AWS, and this actually happened to us at work a while ago. We had started making backups to the cloud, and then didn't really have them configured properly, and we had like a retention period of 6 months. So we were literally putting like backups in there, and then they were staying there for 6 months. So our bill became pretty large, awfully fast, and we didn't even download them. We just put the data there. And so we quickly jumped off of that idea because we just couldn't afford I want to say it was like $1,800 a month we were paying to store backups. And it wasn't backups that we needed like forever. And then therefore this has to exist, across, like Joe's saying, across 3 different zones. These were not data backups that we needed to keep like that. It wasn't our archive video. It was just like server backups, or it was, I think actually what it was backups of marketing video, which changes all the time. So we don't need to keep that for 6 months, especially not, and never download it. We kind of screwed up a little bit and got a bill that we just couldn't really afford. So we switched that around, and instead of paying $1,800 a month, we bought a server, and the ROI was less than 6 months, and now we have more storage in our server room than we were paying before. We actually have 3 times as much storage that we need, and the ROI was 6 months. So, given if our building were to have a fire, we lose all that video. But I feel like if we have a fire, we've got bigger issues to worry about than losing some video on a server. That's just my opinion. That's not the company's opinion. But so we do have actually 2 servers. We actually have 2 boxes. One backs up to the other one. So we do have copies internally. We just don't have them in the cloud. So again, a fire would take it out. But if we have a fire, we have bigger issues. So the zones are separated by miles, but all within the same 60 miles of each other. Okay. And AWS is not and I'm not bashing AWS. I just want to make sure everyone understands. Like, I am not bashing AWS or anything like that. It can get expensive, and I see the bills. I know it can get expensive. Yeah, and if we had a use for machine learning on data sets, that would be cool. We don't. We literally are using it for storage. Yeah, so like I said, I think most people can get away with a hybrid solution, which will be great for them. Bob's doing sync thing with friends. I actually used to do, what was the old one called? The old backup service where you encrypted it before you uploaded it to the cloud. There was a paid subscription model, but it went belly up. It was, you could, oh crap, what was that called? That's going to bother me now. It was like sync. You could just set up sync clients and you could exchange with friends. And the service went belly up a couple of years ago. Crash Plan. Thank you, Bob. I knew somebody would know it. I had Crash Plan, the free version. I loved Crash Plan. I had a server here running Crash Plan. My friend had a server. And then we had a neutral third server that we both backed up to. And it was awesome. I loved it. And then they took it away. I'm curious what the little more to it means, but yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on your actual needs. I mean, lots of things use AWS because they don't want to manage it. And if you're a certain scale, that absolutely makes sense. But to get that threshold where you actually need to pay for that as opposed to do it yourself, I guess it's also risk tolerance. Can you afford a fire to take your business out, or can you have 2 locations, and back up to each other? I think most people probably could. Yep, Crash Plan. Backblaze is a little more frugal on just raw backup storage. They also can act as a file store for serving files. I've heard good things about Backblaze. I've never actually tried them though. Well, that was the best part about CrashPlan was it encrypted it before it transferred it, and then it stored it as encrypted data. So for my friend and I's situation where we were both backing up to the same server but didn't want to be able to see each other's stuff, it was a it was a perfect solution. I loved it. So, all right, let's go back to the demo real quick. Here we are 50 minutes in, or sorry, 55 minutes probably based on the intro. And we haven't done anything yet. So I'm going to, oops, wrong. I need to go to the terminal session. Except because the new server was rebuilt. Log in as me. You probably can't see this because, yep. Hold on, I gotta modify OBS because it's not working right. There we go. Now you can see what I'm doing. So I'm logged into my server for the first time. Oh geez, now black screen deducts points too. I think you're more like a figure skating judge every day, Joe. So first thing we're gonna do is make sure we have all of our drives, and we do. Can I modify this more? I probably can. Come on. There we go. So there we see all of our drives, and you see that, right? No, you don't. Hold on. There we go. So first things first, we're going to do a little bit of configuring of the hard drives. Oh yeah, I got to change. Since it's true Debian, I got to log in as root. Now I can do fdisk to actually make the system, or make the drive, I should say. And so we're going to do, if you don't know, M is for help. We're going to do a GPT partition, which is G. We're going to make a new partition, choose the defaults, and write to make it out. Now, if we do a list block storage, you now see that xvdb has a partition of 1. So we got to do that 4 more times because we have to have 4 partitions in this case. So if you didn't know, the up arrow goes back. So G, N, defaults, W, or as I learned from Jeremy Leake, sort of thing, we can do history, and I can do whack 1, boom. But unfortunately, that's already did that one, so I really don't want to do that. But you can do it. So if you want some cool Linux tips, go look at Jeremy's live stream from earlier. So we're gonna do E, G, N, defaults, write, and one more drive, G, N, defaults, and write. So now if we do a list block storage, we see we have 4 hard drives, B, C, E, and F with partitions. And I know I'm going fast through this, but I just want to kind of get to the point where we actually see it working. So we have 4 hard drives, or 4 availability zones, as I'm calling them. And then we have 4 partitions on those 4 drives. So now we have our drives created. We need to mount them. So actually, we need to format them. Sorry. So we're going to make a file system, and we're going to do each one. And F. So there we have now, again, we do our list storage, nothing changed, but now we actually have 4 partitions on 4 drives formatted correctly to ext4. So yeah, so now we need to mount those drives. And you do that by typing mount, the partition, and then where it's going. But I've skipped a step. So we need to make some place to mount these. So we're going to go into cd mount, and we're going to make a directory called data, and then we're going to make directory disk. And a cool trick I learned the other day, so you do this, 1.4, you actually will make 4 directories with sequential numbers, which I thought was a really cool trick. Instead of typing that command 4 times, you do make directory disk, 1 through 4, and it makes you 4 disk sequentially, which I thought, again, really cool. So I know, again, I'm moving pretty fast. I think you can watch the replay if you actually want to do this yourself. So now that we've done that, we can mount them, because you can't use them yet because they're not attached to anything yet. So we're going to mount the first drive as disk 1. Didn't I just do that? Oh, I did it in the wrong directory. Crap. So remove rs disk asterisk. So we go inside data, and again, let's use the history command to do 18. And now we have 4 disk. History command's awesome, Jeremy. That is such a cool tool. So now we can go, again, history. So now let's try command 20, which is our mount command. So we're basically going to do this command. And it worked. So now we're just going to modify this to do C, E, and F. So now we do ls list block storage. Now we have 4 hard drives, 4 partitions mounted to a file system that we can actually use. So now we're getting someplace. Yeah, Parecki's going to build a Chrome plugin that includes it. I doubt he'll ever do that, but hey, Yeah, that's a good question. Shouldn't you have to be like a live streamer to actually comment about GAUs? I think that's how skating works. Alrighty, that's funny. All right, so you've kind of gone a little bit of quiet. Hopefully, you guys are still there. Looks like 14 of you are still here, which I truly do appreciate. And again, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. I know I'm kind of flying fast. So let's look up our little guide. I am using the configuring Minio guide posted by Minio. Here is the guide in the chat if you want to do this yourself. We're obviously going to modify it a little bit because they assume some things first. So now we have our drives set up. We need to go home. Oops. So we're going to change directories, tilde, which is your home directory. And we're going to do a present working directory to prove that we are in the home directory of root. We are now going to do a wget from Minio, the actual executable file, if you will. It's not executable, but whatever. So we downloaded using wget the actual Minio file, and then we're going to have to modify that so that's executable. So we're going to do a chmod plus x for executable. And if you didn't know, tab auto-completes. So I typed M, I hit tab, and it completed automatically. Another fun saving Linux tip. And then we're going to move Minio to a directory that's outside of root for security purposes. So we're going to move, or MV, Minio to user local bin, like that. And then we're going to create a couple service files. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want, since you're probably going to want Minio to start every time you start the computer, we're going to create a service file for it in etc systemd system, and we're going to call it Minio service. So I prefer Nano. Some of you probably prefer Vi. I like Nano. So in Nano, we're going to copy and paste the system file from the guide, and we're just going to paste it. Which, by the way, I'm using MOBA Xterm. It is the best terminal program in my opinion. Nothing beats it. So pretty cool. So I'm just literally copy and pasting, changing nothing else. I'm gonna hit Control X for closing, yes to save the buffer, and enter to write the file. So there I've made the service file. Again, I just copied and pasted. So next thing you know, we need to create a user because we do not want this user, we do not want the service running as me or root. So we're going to create a user just for the Minio service to run. Again, in the guide, they provide this command. It is user add mgr Minio user. So we're going to create a user. We're going to prevent it from having a home directory. We're going to add it to a group, which is also called Minio user. And then we're going to create this user account. Oh, oops. Guess we got to create a group first to add it to a group. So group add, make it, so and then we're going to run this command. So now we've made a group called Minio user. We've made a user called Minio user and added to the group Minio user, which is a little redundancy, but hey, whatever. So then we're going to set the password for Minio user, and they prefer for their documentation Minio admin. So we're just going to type it in, Minio admin. And now the user has a password. So again, this is off the guide that I posted. I've already done the next part of the guide, which is make the disk, because you kind of need to do that first. But I need to actually grant ownership of those disks. So now we're going to do this command, which is called chown, as I pronounce it. It's basically ownership, changing ownership. So it's Minio user, which is the user and the group, and then it has ownership of those 4 disks or regions. So I'm calling them. Just got a private message. So now Minio user and the group has ownership of the 4-disk, which is important since it has to be able to write to those files. The other thing we're going to create is an environment file. So we're going to do nano again, and we're going to edit this file, and we're going to just simply paste in the environmental variables from the guide. And we're going to change a couple things in here because this is based on your server, so you can't just let it go. So I don't want to do HTTPS right now. My server is actually just called Minio. I have to add my domain name. Again, this domain is not public. This is an internal only domain. We're going to leave this part the same. And I'm just getting rid of spaces because I can. And again, down here, we're going to modify this to get rid of the security. We will add certificates at some point. Probably not in this stream, but we could. And I will eventually. So now that we've modified this to actually point to my server without encryption, we're going to Control X to exit, say buffer, and write the file. So now we're going to actually get the service to start. So we're going to do systemctl, and we're going to enable the service to start. Now we're going to start it, right? Yep. And then we're going to do systemctl status, minio, and it says it's running. So let's see if it actually is running. Let's go over to Chrome. Oops. And then in Chrome, if we go to Minio, hey, look, it's our web page. So Minio admin, and we've got in. So here it is. It's now running. So, and you guys could all see this, yes. So what do we do now? Well, we can create a bucket, and that's what it's telling us to do first. So we're going to create a bucket. One thing about buckets, they don't like upper and lower. So you have, and they don't like spaces. So you can't do test bucket. It won't work. You also can't do test because it doesn't like capitals. So you have to do test bucket with, like, you know, hyphens and stuff. So we're just going to call it test bucket. And we could turn on versioning. We could turn on locking, which is, you know, prevents files from deletion, which is, you know, you're probably going to want that. If this is your backup destination, you may actually want to prevent objects from being deleted so that nobody can delete them. I'm not worried about that right this second. Again, this is just for illustration purposes. So I'm just going to create a bucket called test bucket. And I got a bucket now. So what does that look like? So we created a bucket. What does it actually look like? Well, if we go back here to the terminal page, and I hit Control C to get out of that, if I go to my storage pool or my storage directories, and I go inside, let's just pick disk 1, and I list the contents out, you see it has 2 folders, and one of them is called Minio, and it's owned by Minio user. So let's just go inside Minio, and what do we have? We have our test bucket. So if we go inside test bucket, we have nothing in here. So let's open up test bucket. Oh, sorry. Go to object browser, then click on test bucket. and we're going to upload a file. And let me just find a file I can actually upload. So let's go to, oh, you guys can't see this yet. So here's my test bucket window, and I'm uploading a file, and I'm going to upload the thumbnail I made for this screen, or for the stream, I should say. So now there's a file in there, and I can see it via the web page. And if I update the ls, there it is. So now my file is there. But is it on the other buckets too? Or other drives, I mean, or availability zones? So if I go to change directory to mount data, let's say disk 4, it has that same Minio directory. It has the same test bucket. And now it's there as well. So you have it in disk 4 and you have it in disk 1. So I wrote the file once, but now there's 4 copies of it. So it's like software RAID. It's like a RAID, if you will, because it makes 4 copies of it, but it just does it when you write it once. And what I did earlier was, so let's say I want to remove that file. You can actually, because it's directory apparently. I did not know that actually. So can you go inside, can you? You can, because it's actually a directory. Oh, and there's the file. So the file actually lives inside of the folder, and it has a metadata file with it. So that here's the raw file, and then here's the metadata file. Interesting. So that was how you create S3 compatible buckets. It's not actually S3, but if you were to create that server times 4, you could make your own availability. You could make your own availability zone, because you could have 4 servers, around in different data centers, or 4 servers around your 4 different locations, and you could tie them all together, which I did in my example before, my test before, I should say. So you can kind of see maybe how you could expand this, and you could have 4 servers or 3 or whatever it is, and you could have them in different data centers or different houses or buildings or offices, and you could tie them all together with your corporate WAN, and you could have your own essentially S3. And I'm using the quotes because it's not actually S3. But Minio is S3 compatible, so any application, in my use case, any application that you want to write to an S3 compatible bucket, Minio would allow you to host your own S3 compatible storage, and your application would not know the difference. And more importantly, for the use case I'm thinking of, oops, there we go. If I'm making buckets, I'm turning object locking on, and I'm writing my very important data to a bucket that has object lock so that you can't delete it. Therefore, you got protection against ransomware. So I hope that makes some sense. Let me go back to the chat and see what I missed. DJ Ware says he needs a Part 107 license first. I used Putty for a long time, but somebody showed me MOBA X term, and I mean, the power of it in terms of like everything it can do, and it can save sessions and all that stuff. I like it so much better than Putty. Yeah, I was holding my breath there for a second, but it worked. So yeah, I mean, I didn't. It's not actually creating S3. My point was is that you could create an S3 type setup in your own house. Let's say you had four Raspberry Pis with four hard drives. You set this up in Minio. Now you're writing all four hard drives at once. Or let's say, you know, you had a hard drive. You had a Raspberry Pi with a hard drive. I gave Tony one. I gave Eric one, and then I could write to all three of your houses and basically do my own version of S3. So that was kind of the idea behind the stream is what options does this allow for in terms of your own in your house or amongst your friends, or let's say you're a big business and you have some 50 locations across the country. Could you put up servers in various locations, tie them all together, and now have a backup solution where you write once and it goes to four different servers so that you don't lose your data if one of them burns down? So I'm just kind of thinking outside the box about what we could do instead of paying the huge monthly bill that we currently pay. So hopefully that makes some sense. Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense now that I think about it. It's yeah, you're not actually storing the file name because the file name's irrelevant. It's more along the lines of the file itself. Keith says he likes Aaron's plugin. I do too. I use it. I just kind of wish it had some more functions, more customization like he does. If you saw his stream from Sunday, he talked about how he had a custom plugin made for the people who do the airplane stuff. Kind of wish we could modify our plugin a little bit too. I also don't like the fact that it only works in Chrome. I'm a Firefox user, so kind of wish it did more than just that. Um, so, but I do applaud you, Keith, for staying around. If that made sense to you, I hope it did. If not, I do appreciate you just hanging out and watching. I appreciate all you for hanging out and watching. No, but the actual I have thought about maybe for next time is doing a front end locally where one of the servers is in the cloud. So I would write once and it would be a local copy and a cloud copy all in the same, interface. So instead of having the four hard drives on one machine, I would have one machine have like two hard drives and then the cloud have the other hard drive, but I would only have one interface. So I'm kind of thinking this is just the start of a thought process that I have in terms of this whole thing. One of the things I'm actually thinking about doing is building this into a physical machine. So in my basement, I would have a server with a very large hard drive in it running MinIO, and I could, for example, offer, via port forwarding, you know, to say, you or Keith or whoever their own bucket and say, if you want to write your data or you want to back up your Synology or TrueNAS box, I will, enable build a bucket for you. You could do a cloud sync to a bucket on a box that I have here, and it could be your offsite backup or Tony's offsite backup or Bob's whoever. Um, Eric could back up here if you wanted to, and just have some options. I like options, so it's just things I'm thinking about. So if you're interested in that, if that appeals to you, whoever you are in the chat, I don't, it doesn't really, if you're any of you, please hit me up. I'd love to entertain that thought process. Um, Natively, S3 does not have encryption like CrashPlan did, so you'd probably want to back up. You'd probably want to encrypt your data before you send it to me. But let's just talk. Let's just talk. It has, has options. I think it's kind of cool. Um, it is cool. It works. It's really easy. Tony says he switched to H2R. I thought about that too. I do. I haven't tried H2R in a long time. I had a thought. I don't know where I had a brain freeze there for a second. Yep, I just find the whole idea of the buckets and the write policies and whatnot kind of cool. And I know you can get you can actually write policies based on the buckets, like to not allow deletions for 7 days or whatever it is. Like, it has some interesting ideas behind it. So it's kind of wanted to play with it a little bit just to see what it's like. Yeah, a lot of self-hosted stuff does allow you to do S3. Like, I know one of the things I was playing around with was Duplicati, which is a backup software for Windows. At least that's what I was using. And Duplicati can write to S3 buckets. So you could run Duplicati on your Windows machine or whatever and back it up to an S3 bucket that you own or in the cloud. Either way. Yeah, we could talk about that. Does Minio have actual replication to? Oh yeah, you can. You can actually. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, DJ. You can actually add a replication site and do that. That is actually so. Yeah, it's already thought about that. I hadn't got that far yet, but yeah, here we, for the next example, we could actually do this. Set up self-replication. That'd be kind of cool. So yeah, you got all kinds of stuff options in here. Self-replication, it's cool. You don't need to build it yourself. It has it in here. All right. So, oops. Keith, I think you should switch to H2R tomorrow for your stream. Make that your stream. Do it live, as we always laugh about here. Or you could do tail scale, zero tier. Yeah, you could do all kinds of stuff. You want to test out our theory, huh? I'd pay for storage. But here's the thing, and I just see your next comment. My download speed's great. I just can't send it back to you. So it's like a cloud provider. You can upload all you want, but retrieval is going to cost you. See, so I need an off-site FTP solution. And I assume you want like a graphical front end or like easy operation. What are your requirements for off FTP? Because I could set up an FTP server for you if you want to do it yourself. I mean, like I said, we could talk. Yeah, I forget. Duplicate, is it? Duplicati? I forget how you pronounce it. Or how you spell it. Duplicati. Here we go. So, you guys can see this, right? Yes. So, Duplicati, free software to back up your stuff online. It supports FTP, SSH, WebDev, Backblaze. Hey, look at that. There's that Amazon S3. Ooh, and Duplicati does actually offer encryption, so you can encrypt your backups. So here's what I was saying. If you use Duplicati, you could back up your Windows machine to S3, and now with the guide that I just showed you, you can build your own S3 repository. So here's the link to Duplicati. And it looks like there are still 10 of you here, so I do appreciate that. All right, let's go back to... I need a stream. Did I ever show you that Duplicati page? I sure hope I did. I need like a stream deck so I can just hit buttons instead of OBS. I really need to get one of those. I also need a way to like... I wish I had a second monitor so I could actually preview... Like over here, I could see the stream at all times instead of having to go back and forth. I know I need a better streaming setup. All right, so let's go back to the chat. Tony's asking, do you want FTP server or Synology over S3? You can have S3 for your S3. Joe wants to set it up now, huh? You can check it anytime you want, but your data can never leave. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You could write here all you want. It's just going to cost you to get it back because my upload's 10 megs. Although, if you're thinking about it, if you're writing here and you need your data back, I could put it on a hard drive and send it back to you. It'd probably be faster. I want a cloud service, something simple that I can navigate. Well, yeah, why don't you just spin up in a cloud instance and add FTP to it? Or, sorry, SFTP to it, so it's secure. You might know of a cloud service you can have access to. Just saying. I mean, AWS, you know. Well, isn't that some of those servers? Some like who was it? Is it Backblaze? One of them actually offers that service where you put it on a hard drive and you send it to them, and then you've seeded in essence your first upload. So instead of you paying or taking the time to upload all your data, you've put it on a hard drive and they've copied the data for you, and then you now just make changes to it. So if you are upload restrained like I am, you might want that. If you're like Joe, or I think even you who has 1 gig upload, doesn't really matter. But if you're like me and only have 10 megs, that's going to take a while to upload, which is another reason why I'm not a big cloud person, because I don't have the upload speeds to actually be able to handle that constantly. And I don't save that much data or make that much changes, but I do back up my virtual machines every night, like all of them, to my TrueNAS box. So I mean, that would be a lot of data to upload if I had to. Jay Snowball. I mean, I'm open to names, ideas. Eric likes it. Alrighty, so do I want to try to connect it to my... I'm curious. What is... Joe has me thinking about this whole try it live thing. So Was it DJ Ware who said it had replication? I'm curious. What is this site? This site has. Would you add your? You wouldn't use this site, would you? You'd use a peer site like there, and then you'd obviously have to have the address and the key. Oh, AWS Snowball is a petabyte scale data transport service. Oh, I didn't realize that was actually a thing. Sorry, that's kind of cool. Alrighty. Oh, sounds like Tony's leaving. Thank you, Tony. All right, Joe, you're a mod now. I got 3 mods. I think I have like a 1-to-1 ratio of mods to viewers. Ooh, yes, Eric, we are. Since I technically started at like 9:03, I guess I have to go at least 3 more minutes before I get a full 1.5. Oh my God, did you actually start? Did you actually build a website while the stream was happening? Are you serious? Oops. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I like that. I like that, Eric. I should stick it at exactly 30. So I should 2 minutes. I should. Oh, I gotta scroll down. Oh, hold on. Oh my God, you built like a whole thing. Holy crap. So the Joe approved unit is measured based off the length of a stream. Oh, you got a typo, Joe. They'll begin to earn coins through mining. The coin will have a daily calculator. It'll be cashed in. Ooh, I'm. Is that a photo? I'm assuming it's a Photoshop, right? Like that's not a real shirt you have. Oh my God, this is funny. Oh, that's my new favorite bookmark. I'm bookmarking that. That's funny. That's hilarious. Alrighty, well that officially is the best. Well, I remember, and I'm not gonna stick the landing. I remember when I first built a website, it was probably when I actually built it myself was probably 2003. And I remember I requested the URL and I bought it, I should say. And I remember getting the email like, okay, this will be ready to go, and then just constantly clicking like to see when it would happen. And I remember waiting hours for the website to just show up, and it never did until the next day. It was like almost 24 hours before the website even showed up on my computer, like the placeholder website, because DNS took forever. And now Joe's making DNS up, making websites within like minutes on the internet. Like it's crazy. David likes this. Yep, that made my night. Joe wins the internet totally. Joe's got it, hands down. Yeah, I noticed even even goes in and out. It's awesome. Bob, you absolutely created a monster. I would totally buy a shirt, Joe. I'm serious. I would totally buy a shirt and I would wear it on the stream, and that should count for double the points. If you wear a JAU shirt, you should get double the points for the time that you're on wearing it and streaming. I mean, yeah, DNS still does pretty cool, but there is some time there. That's so yeah. Oh, that's funny. Joe, you have to send Tony that link so that cause I think he left already. So make sure you send Tony that link. I mean, right? Doesn't I think a two times accelerator makes is obvious. You wear the shirt while streaming, twice as many points. Oh, okay. Here you go. See, cool deal. Yeah, don't forget to offer beefy size. All right. Well, I can't top that tonight. I mean, I did a whole stream and I can't top what Joe's website. So, um, I think I'm going to call it quits for the night. I'm officially past 1.5 since I counted for the music, as you pointed out, Joe. Um, I sure hope you guys had fun. I hope maybe I've made some brain cells work a little bit harder tonight on the whole concept of building your own S3 storage. Maybe I've introduced an idea where, hey, I could do that. If I have, let me know. I'd be curious to know if you like these kind of things. Obviously, you do like these streams, but these little demos, these little projects that I found, if you want to expand on this, please let me know how you would expand on it. I do believe I am going to. I do want to play with this whole replication idea. See if that maybe will solve a idea that I have. I also like the idea of tiering. So you could create tiers. So you could put data someplace, and if it sits there for so long, it can go somewhere else. There's lots of things about this that I'm really curious to try. So let me know what you think. What you have any suggestions for using this platform? The S3 stuff from Minio. Um, just curious. I am probably going to change some passwords, and I'm actually going to add those disk drives to the FS tab so that they're permanently mounted as opposed to just me mounting them each time. I'll do that offline. So, and I'm going to need a 3X tall, Joe, of that shirt. It's 3X tall. I know Bob's putting 2X tall. I want a 3X tall. Actually, 4X tall if it's cotton because it'll shrink. So 3X tall would be my preferred thing. Joe says he wants to store all his beans in my basement. I'm open to ideas. If you're seriously wanting a backup site, off-site things, we could. I mean, I'm curious. I mean, I might go out and buy like a 16 terabyte hard drive or whatever. I don't know what they are, even are 12 terabyte drives, and do something. I'm not sure yet. So, open ideas. So, anyway, thank you all for tonight. I do appreciate it. I hope you all had fun, and I will see you next time.